Alright guys, so hi, my name is Nick and I'm a junior at Leland High School.
I'm Rogers and I'm a sophomore at Cupertino High.
So like Dennis said, we're going to be talking about video games. And the reason why we're going to spend this time talking about video games is because during our previous presentations and seminars, we hosted a lot of question and answer, Q&A sessions, and a majority of those questions came up with video games. And so today we're going to be addressing those concerns or questions, and and throughout this, and at the end of this, we're going to try to give you some suggestions as to how you can solve those video game issues that parents have with teens. So first, I'm going to give you several types of video games. Now these are just a general list. They're not the entire amount. There's billions of video games out there, and these are just several genres of that billion. So what we have first is a role-playing game. And what that is basically you play a game in which you are a separate character, and you're trying to finish the game by going through the game and ending and trying to establish or complete a goal that is set out for you. And now examples of this is Final Fantasy, as we have pictured here, and that usually takes up the most time because you have to level up, get weapons, get coins, all that jazz. And the second one that we're going to talk about, that I'd like to review, is first-person shooter. So that's sort of self-explanatory. What you are, you play as a soldier, and the object of the game is to destroy the other side or annihilate them, and you guys get the message. So examples of that is Battlefield 3 and Modern Warfare 3. Now the third one is a massive multiplayer online. So what that is basically an RPG game, or role-playing game, except you're playing online with other people, interacting with hundreds of thousands of other people. And the one catch with that is you have to pay a monthly subscription fee. So parents, if you're paying for your child to play every month, then it's probably one of these. Now the last one I'd like to go over is a simulation game. And what I have here is basically, it's a family game. It's Monopoly, Life, or Clue. Now you're probably wondering, why are you saying those? I mean, I have those at home, and they're board games. Well, as of today, because of digital downloads and the technology that we have, we are able to play this online with on the computer, or Xbox Live on the Xbox, or PlayStation Network on PlayStation.
So why do people play video games? Well, video games are a great stress reliever. Sometimes when I come home from school after a long day, I'm really tired and really don't feel like doing anything, so I sit and play video games, and that helps relieve my stress and relaxes and refreshes me. They're also really fun, and it's a great way to escape from reality, because when you play video games, you enter a second world, and you create a second entity for yourself, and you don't have to worry about your problems in your life.
Now, a lot of you might be wondering, well, how do we get this information? Well, we actually read some studies, and one of the things that was really interesting to us was when we looked on a study done by Newsweek. There was they said that basically, if you play video games, it is a great way to relieve PTSD for soldiers coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. Of course, I hope none of your children have PTSD, but it still shows that these video games, if you play them, you can become, it's definitely relieves stress, it takes your minds off of things that, that might have happened throughout the day.
Nonetheless, video games have a lot of other positive side effects as well. Well, obviously, when you play video games, you're happier. Video games also help you improve your dexterity and reflexes, and they improve your problem-solving skills and creativity. When I was little, I was really obsessed with Pokemon, and I would spend hours trying to train my Pokemon and make them better. And I realized that actually helped me think outside the box and become more creative. Video games also give you a goal-oriented mindset. So when in school or any other activities, I always try to do my best and do my best. And even if I do badly, I get experience with failure, and I try to improve myself to do better next time. Video games do have one negative side effect, and that is that they're very time-consuming. And usually that time is taken away from your you get a decreased focus on your academics. This can be solved by playing video games in moderation, but sometimes that's very hard because video games are very addicting. What is video game addiction? Well, in our survey, we sent out many questions, and there is a general consensus that video game addiction is when a person is unable to stray away from video games for a prolonged period of time.
So I have a personal example of this, and I'm actually sort of ashamed to say because that was like well, it was about a year ago. After my first semester sophomore year, my parents had recently bought me a video game for Christmas, Call of Duty Black Ops. And so what I did was, when I got home, I sat on the couch and I played until probably about 10 or 11. And I got out of school at 1, let's say. So basically like 10 or 9 hours of gameplay. Yeah, I know, that's a lot. And so that's just one case, but throughout that, because it was the end of the first semester, it was 2 weeks of doing nothing. So what I did was, every day I'd probably wake up at like around 10 or 11, and I would play until, let's say, 12 or 1, get a microwave lunch, and then after I'm done with lunch, sit back on the couch and play until 4 or 5, until my mom got home, and helped around the house, did some chores, ate some dinner, and afterwards I just sit back on the couch and play video games until like 10 or 11 at night. So that's basically 8 hours, and that is a lot. Now that is an extreme case of video game addiction, and like Roger said, I could have controlled myself with moderation, but I needed help. I needed my parents to help me, but they were at work, so I was free to do whatever I wanted to do. And that's bad. Don't worry, parents, that's just an extreme case. I'm pretty sure that was an extreme case. I hope your child does not play 8 to 10 hours, because that's pretty bad. So that was basically me. I was this little bunny over here, playing video games. And so we also sent out a parent survey, and we asked, what do you guys think about video game addiction? What do you define it as? And so what they said was, they defined it as when video games, start interfering with school and academic work. It didn't really matter as to like the amount of time that they said. Let's say like a child, their teen played 1 or 2 or 3 hours. That time varied, but the general consensus was that they interfered with they interfered with school and academic work. They felt that that they didn't focus enough on academics, and that's where the conflict arises. Is when they don't, and when parents and teens disagree over the amount of time they can play video games or how much they can play. So right now I'm going to give you several suggestions as to how you can relieve that tension. How you can help each other relieve the tension, have to come to an agreeable solution in which both the parents and teens are happy. So the first one is implement a simple reward-based system. It's pretty self-explanatory. So I'll give you a hypothetical explanation, example. So let's say Bobby wants to play video games. He has 10 pages of homework. What Bobby can do with his parents is to come upon an agreement in which Bobby finishes his 10 pages of homework, and he gets to play 1 or 2 hours of video games. Sure, that might sound a lot, but it's a reward-based system in which they can finish their academics, get something done, and then have fun. Now, second one is to create a time slot in which teens can play. So what that means is basically hypothetically, between 8 and 10, Bobby can play as many video games as he wants. But before and after that time slot, Bobby cannot touch the controllers or even stare at the console or PC. So, and the third one is have an agreement on video game policies. So that's where the parents and teens come together and they realize and they basically set out procedures and rigid rules in which parents and teens abide to concerning video games. So it basically means Bobby and his parents come up with an agreement. They say between 8 to 10, I can play video games. During that time, you cannot bother me about playing about doing homework or academics. However, for the parents, how we balance that out is parents, when Bobby's parents say, you know what, it's 10 o'clock, you played enough, time to turn it off the game, and go back to do homework or sleep. Now we have to follow these rules rigidly. You cannot, I would strongly advise against changing these rules arbitrarily, because then that will create even more tension. The parents and teachers will obviously get into more trouble if they do not follow the rules. And that's what I need to stress, is that you need to trust each other to follow these rules. And the fourth suggestion is to play video games together. I know, parents, it probably sounds, really foreign and alien, but if you play video games with your child, it'll be sort of like a bonding moment. You're having fun, racing each other, having a competition. And so, it's a great bonding moment. You're both sharing something that you enjoy. And that's something that, that I've seen actually before. One of my friends actually, his dad plays video games with constantly. They even play, really violent games. But they still are able to bond together. They're a lot happier, and they have a lot less trouble on, they have a lot less arguments on video games. And the one last hint before we step off here is to not try to get your team to stop playing altogether. And that's what my parents did. They, after my craze 2 weeks, they said, you know what? You played too much. We're not going to let you play video games anymore. So they took away my controllers. All I could do was, just stare at my console and just stare at it. Couldn't do anything with it. But, but I was infuriated. I wanted to play. It was obviously, like we said, it was like a stress reliever for me. It was a stress reliever for me, and they took it away, just like that. And it's best if you moderate it and moderately take it away, because by then they won't notice what the difference is. If you moderately take it away step by step, or moderately decrease the amount to a small amount, like say 30 minutes to an hour, that's great. And so now that'll conclude our presentations, and we'll be turning over the mic to Dennis.
Limit the amount of video games they play, because if you think you can limit the amount of games you play and you're playing with your team, then during that bonding moment you're connecting with your team because you're doing something that he or she likes to do with him or her. And then when you stop, it gives teen a signal also that they should maybe stop playing or do something else with their time. And so really it's how parents and teens come together and work together to help limit teen playing time, and at the same time parents can also have fun playing games with their teens. So next we're going to talk about something that really doesn't come up in many people's lives, but it is still very important, because cyberbullying can be a very harmful thing, especially with internet anonymity and people being able to cyberbully at any time. It's really become an issue in today's society. And so we'll have Tanya and Catherine talking about it.